Hi, and welcome to our podcast, The Journey to CEO Success. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, along with Patrick Thean, award-winning serial entrepreneur, CEO coach, and a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author. His latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is a #1 Amazon bestseller and the inspiration for this podcast. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Melissa. Good to see you today.
Yeah, you too. And I'm also excited to welcome Dan Crane. He's the founder of Crane Counsel, Inc., where he helps business leaders and small business owners strengthen leadership, accelerate sales, and execute strategy with confidence. After scaling and selling his own manufacturing rep firm, Dan now coaches executives on how to lead with clarity, purpose, and measurable results. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have
Dan,
you.
welcome to our show, man. By the way, you and I, we have a lot in common. We've both sold our companies, and now we both coach others along their journey, going from good to great. We both believe in always leveling up and working with those with a drive to learn and grow. Your mission, I believe, is simple: to empower others to lead with confidence, self-purpose, and strategize for success, right? So what I'd like to do is give you a couple of minutes to just introduce your firm today. What do you actually do today?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. After running a company for a number of years and the ups and downs and the successes and failures, what I really realize is I like helping people, right? And so part of that is I wanted to get back in the game a little bit here and start to coach individuals and really work with leaders, executives, small business owners in helping with everyday problems, right? And so that's what we do at Crane Counsel, right? We take on small businesses and companies, mid-sized companies, help them execute in areas that they struggle. And then there's also the one-on-one coaching that comes with that in all various sizes of companies where, like yourself, I'll work with executives and help them discover that what they need to do to have a more successful career and frankly, a more successful life too, have a little bit more joy at the end. So.
That's wonderful, man. So do you have a staff with you, or are you on your own now? How does it work with you?
Yeah, no, I'm married now. Have 6 kids. We're a blended family, 4 of my own and 2 step kids. So it's a busy household. A little bit older kids are getting to end of high school and college, and we're working on the next step. So
that's wonderful. Hey, this podcast, this show actually is about helping CEOs to have a more joyful and successful life, because I think sometimes people sacrifice personal joy in order to get the success, and then at the end of their journey, they go, "Wow, I wish I'd done more of life." And what I've been trying to do is help people and CEOs specifically enjoy both, enjoy having joy in their lives as well as success. And so I'd love for you to share a bit about your journey. So you've had your company, manufacturing company, you said, and then you sold it. Tell us a little bit about your journey. What caused you to start that company, and why did you sell it, and who did you sell it to?
Yeah.
And congratulations, by the way. I've once been told that selling a business is like having a Super Bowl ring. So congratulations for your Super Bowl ring.
Thanks. Yeah. So I started my career working for Ace Hardware's corporate office and got to know a man by the name of Bob Creedon, and he took a liking to me. He ran this manufacturer's rep agency, a broker, more or less, and after multiple attempts of trying to convince me to come work for him, I finally agreed. Right, I had I had my previous marriage. I had a son and triplets coming, and needed to find a whole kind of new revenue stream in life to make it all work out. And ended up taking the risk and the chance to start there. And Bob was a great, dynamic guy, an extreme leader, a hard guy to work for. Right, very challenging, very demanding, but really taught me a lot. And then, unfortunately, after a few years, Bob had cancer and ended up passing, right? And so we had worked out the sale of company ahead of time, and I took over for Bob and helped run the
organization. You bought the company from Bob?
I did, yes, and his family. So, and I still have great relationships with them today. And so I just saw some of those things from Bob, right? Like what it took to create a great company and to move on and grow it. And so I tried to work in some of those things and put my own elements in. And there were some failures along the way, right? Bringing in some of the wrong people, thought I had the right leaders and didn't. But finally kind of got it to a point that, I thought I was ready to find the next leaders in my organization and build a plan to get there. And then life changed again for me, right? I started going through a divorce that was a little unplanned for me. I had 4 kids and was trying to figure that out, and finally got through all that. And I was like ready to start going and really pushing the company. And then I got diagnosed with lymphoma. And so I started going through cancer treatments in the fall of 22. And I was so grateful that I had worked from the business side, not just my personal life, but the business side, to build the company to where it was, start to enable and trust leaders in my organization to run the company and step back. I was focusing more on my family and children. And, thank goodness I did it, right? So, because when I went through treatments, those gentlemen stepped up. They started running the company. And then when I got a clean diagnosis in February of 23, we started making the conversation about
So Dan, I want to pause you for a second because I just want to celebrate what you just said. A clean diagnosis when again? When?
That was in January or February of 23.
So clean diagnosis means your lymphoma is in remission, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Because
you never get to say you beat it, right? It's
I've learned it. I got some good friends who are cancer docs and they've told me, they said, you're never really cured, right? You're in remission. So that's the language they use, and I prefer to say you're cured because I'm not a doctor. So I prefer to think of it mentally. I think it's healthier to think I've beat it, past tense. I've beat it, versus it's lingering. I get it from a medical standpoint. Doctors don't want to say that it's over ever, but I think it's great. So anyway, congratulations. I think we should really celebrate that.
It's a major life accomplishment for me, right? And
when did you sell the business?
Yeah, so after I got that clean diagnosis in February of 23, I was still in rough shape, right? I had lost a lot of weight, lost whatever other hair I had left, right? I was weak and beat up, and I really didn't have the energy to give my company back 100%. So I just entrusted that those guys kept running it, and we all just kind of came into the agreement of like, okay, let's not wait another 2-3 years, which would have been great financially for me and would have been fine for them. And they were patient. It was just a good timing, right? Like they were running it successful. They didn't need me coming back in for 2 more years to just collect checks. And so we just sort of accelerated that process to move a little faster. And so I sold the business to them after a year going back and forth with some things. And I sold the business, Creedon and Associates, to those gentlemen in January of 24. So it was a good amount of time. I think it helped me feel comfortable to transition in that phase and help them to continue to grow and still kind of have me in the shadows a little bit, which gave employees and customers confidence. And happy to say it's been a really successful transition for everybody. And then it gave me the time to focus a little bit on myself and get myself back to where I needed to, and then sort of start my next journey and figure out what I really wanted to do.
So how long did you transition? Are you still part of the firm? Are you still kind of providing advice and counseling, or have you?
I'm technically a business advisor still with the organization, but it's pretty limited with regards to what my role is there. I'm there for experience, right? I'm there to help if they ever need to know what not to step in. But they're really doing great and super proud of that group for what they've done and what they've accomplished.
So, I got this thing I call your joy index. How was your joy index during, so it sounds like you've had kind of a roller coaster a little bit, right? Like just as you're ready to go, okay, I'm ready to punch it, and then you get diagnosed with lymphoma. Yeah. So I'm sure that's a little bit of a big roller coaster, not just a bit. Then you go through treatments and now you're in remission. You're cured, from my perspective anyway. You're cured. You're moving on. Your joy index must be higher. But share with me, how did you go through that? How did you go through that, and how was it for you? Was your joy index low, high? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, even goes back further. If I go back to 2019, when I started going through my separation and divorce, right? It was this consistent roller coaster of up and down, right? And then I finally feel like I'm through it and I'm ready, and then I get the lymphoma diagnosis, right? And so, I get through all of that, right? So it just comes down when it comes to my joy index, right?
Yeah.
Definitely a roller coaster, high, low. Think I'm ready, done with the family stuff, right? And ready to move on to the next phase of my life. I met a great woman, and we started dating, and I have all these great kids, and I'm like, here I go, I'm ready. And then I get the diagnosis, right? And boy, another kick in the pants. And but what I would say is, like, my commitment to make it through for my kids, for my wife now, Molly, right? For the people in business and my family, right? It was, there was no option, right? There's no option to quit there. You just, you do it, and you do your best, and you move forward, and then the good things happen around because you've made yourself available. You committed to working as hard as you can to do it. And so
tell me a little bit about what you mean by good things happen when you make yourself available. What is that?
Yeah. So I think, what I've seen throughout my career, my adult life is, there's certainly luck in the world, right? People have luck, right? But I do, and there's good things that happen to people, right? And there's some bad things that happen to people. But I do think that if you present yourself in the right situations, and you give your best effort, and you create some of your own opportunities, right, through effort, kindness, happiness, right, effort, oftentimes that luck comes to you, right, because you've made yourself available to it. Right now, certainly bad things can happen too, and I've had my fair share of those as well. But I really believe that people make some of their own luck, right? Because I can be lucky and win a new client, but if I didn't do the effort behind it to go in and put all the work in, or the messaging, or just the effort and the whole process, maybe I never get afforded that lucky opportunity to be successful, right? And so I certainly know there's an element of luck in the world, but I really feel like most successful people, they've gotten some luck along the way, right? And I can name multiple opportunities where that happened, but none of that happens if I don't take the extra work, go to school again, right? Make new connections, stay in contact with people, right? Those things happen because you put the effort in, and maybe you didn't ask exactly for what you got, but you were probably always working towards getting close to it, and then it comes, right? I had that happen a lot with customers. I would try to, I never really had to fully push to recruit people to come be a partner with us. I always just stayed in contact, help them to continue educated, help them where I can. And a lot of times it just came back to me because of who we tried to be and the things we tried to do and have success along the way. And then people wanted to be along with that success.
So what brings you joy today in what you do? And you clearly love what you do. So what brings you joy in what you do? And how do you renew yourself in this process?
Yeah. So like a lot of what I'm doing today, Patrick, is, I'm doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, right? There are people that you see it all around. They're great people. They're good business people, But they're a lot like I was during various stages of my career. They're just a little stuck, right? They want to grow. They want to grow rapidly, and they're still doing some of the old things, right? And they can't get out of their own way. They can't stop being the person they were for the last 10 years that made them successful to this point. And so I get a lot of joy, and I spend a lot of time helping people just get to the next level, realizing some of the things that, again, like I said, have made them successful to this point that are probably holding them back from being the person they need to be in the next part of their life. Because what got you there doesn't necessarily get you here, right? And so that's what a lot of my work is today, is asking a lot of those questions, helping people to push forward a little bit, holding them accountable to making their own change in some of our coaching sessions and efforts.
And so what brings you joy in this process that renews you? Like, I'm sure there are times when you've had a client and you're like, oh, after you've done your session with a client and you go, yes, that's exactly why I do what I do. Tell me a little bit about that, those moments that give you that kind of joy.
Yeah, for me, it's the little things, right? When I see that growth, that they're just sort of taking on their own now, right? It's maybe things that we talked about in 2 sessions ago, and I see them not spending time in the areas they shouldn't, or starting to take on some other. I see them maybe start to do some of their coaching with their employees that we're doing together, right? And using mimicking maybe some of the tactics and techniques that we use along the way. But, for me, I'm through sort of the first phase of my professional career and now into the second phase of it, maybe even the third, right? But I really see joy when I see others improving, and then again watching them just grow, right? Because it's not really about what I do. It's about making them better and getting them to the next level in their personal and professional lives. So,
I read one of your recent, articles or blogs on LinkedIn about about letting go. And I'm curious about this because I agree with you. Letting go is really hard, and sometimes not letting go is one of the things that limits a leader from providing proper delegation and proper authority that goes with that delegation, right? So tell me a little bit about what you've discovered about that, and why is that hard, and how important is letting go?
Yeah, it's I tend to see it be one of the most common themes with executives, managers, right? When it comes to really getting to the next level, especially in the small business, mid-sized business world, right? It can happen in any role, but especially in those areas, right? Like, you find these really great, passionate people, and they either make a great product or they run a great service, and they've taken the company, and they've grown it over the last 10 years. But now all of a sudden they look around, and the company that used to be 20 people is 100, right? And their business used to be at 5 million and it's 50. And yet that leader is still doing a lot of the same stuff, right? They're doing some of the task work. They're following up on shipping and logistics and customer service issues. And look, I did the same things, right?
Yes, unpaid bills and AR that isn't been paid yet, right?
Yeah, like I joked with one of the guys that took the company that I was giving too much input on what the color of the bathroom should be in the remodel, right? Like decisions that just didn't make a difference. And so
no, that's really important. The color of the bathroom gotta be and the shade, not just the color, buddy, but the shade.
Yes, but I think that's the key thing is people sometimes you just keep doing the same thing, and you keep acquiring more responsibility and more thing, and so it's so hard to let go because you're used to it. And I think the other part that makes it hard to let go is typically when these leaders, these executives, they're so good at these roles or tasks or things that they do that even if they have great employees that want to take them and they're ready to take them, they're intimidated to do it because they can't do it as well as you can, maybe, right? And so then they stop asking and they stop doing as more. They don't feel like they can be successful. And so
because they feel like a failure when you've delegated something, they try doing it and then you take it over, or you show them a little bit too much how to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I was guilty of those things too, right? Like, when I was running the old agency, right, I brought somebody in and I probably had too much input on how I thought it should be done. And so that person ended up leaving and running their own successful business. But by the time the next person came in, I committed myself. Don't make those same mistakes, right? Let them run it, provide some guidance, right? Provide some coaching, but don't talk about the individual items, the tasks that need to get done. Let them do their job and sort of get through that. And I think that's what a lot of executives they struggle with, right?
So let's summarize the top 2 or 3 tips that you could share that people can have more joy in delegating or more joy in letting go.
Yeah, I always say the easiest way to start with some of that is go through your week and identify the things you don't enjoy to do, but you still do regularly, right? Because those will be the easiest things to give up.
Gotcha.
So if I know that I don't enjoy the, customer service portion or the sales portion of the job, right? Then that's the easiest part that I'm going to say. Like, identify it, and then then the next step is you have to find out who you're going to give that to, right? Who do you think could do the job? How are you going to train them to do it? And then I think the most important part, Patrick, is you have to identify some sort of communication schedule, right? So that you have confidence that this person will communicate back to you that the job is done, it's done well, and if there's any issues, I'll bring them up to you. Because the problem is, as a business owner or as an executive, you're going to keep thinking about those things even if you've given them to somebody else. So you're never really getting rid of them because you still are keeping your mind share occupied around those tasks and responsibilities, versus if you assign that to that person, show them how to do it, and then tell them, hey, I'd like you to give me an update every Friday for the first couple of weeks. And then we can probably move it to every couple of weeks, every 2 or 3 weeks after that. Now, all of a sudden, I've given myself free mind share because I know I've given a task or a role to somebody that's accountable, and they're going to come back and do it. And then all of a sudden it gets a little bit easier all the time. But I think that's the easiest way to start in all of that when it sort of comes to letting go.
Thank you. That's some really good practical thoughts for folks here. There's one more thing I'd love to explore with you. I love your work. I love your writing. You wrote another recent post that talked about, how you should actually tell people what you do, but also be willing to share what you're good at doing.
Yeah.
And how sometimes people are afraid of doing that and they shouldn't be doing it. So I'm curious, why do you think people, or what have you learned about why people are afraid of telling other folks what they're good at, and how do they get past that?
Yeah. I think for that, a lot of it is just, it's recognizing it in yourself first, right? What do you really enjoy and what are you really good at, right? And then I think
are the two usually the same, what you enjoy and what you're good at?
Not always, right? Like, I might be really good at number crunching, but I don't enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think some of it is, usually they've got to be together for you to be really good at it, right? Like mine is coaching, right? Like I get a lot of joy out of it, and I'm pretty good at it, right? And so, I think that was just sort of a little bit of a epiphany for me, right? Is to understand, especially I got later in my career, I was always good at selling. I was successful at it. But what I really found my biggest joy to be was when in coaching and developing people in our organization. And so I took a back seat from selling, and because I just got more joy out of the coaching and development side. And I think some of it is people have to recognize that in themselves. And then some of it is be comfortable, tell people, right? And when someone asks you, hey, Patrick, what do you do? Right? You can certainly tell them that you're an author and run great podcasts, right? But it may be more impactful to say, I really get joy from doing this, right? I'm good at it. And this makes me successful. And I really, and it brings me joy, right? And so I think some of this, it's hard for people sometimes to recognize that, right? Like, what am I really good at and what do I love doing?
I think sometimes people feel like I'm being egotistical to say, hey, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
And a long time ago, I was, one of my coaches actually shared with me, like, Patrick, when someone compliments you, why do you put up a fuss? Why don't you just shut up and say thank you? Just do that, right? And I found it was a difficult transition for me when somebody would compliment me about something I did. I had trouble with that. It took me a while, but initially I would say, no, no big deal. Well, I didn't say it was a big deal, Patrick. I'm just saying that, you're good at this. And so I had to learn to just go, why, thank you. And then I actually did feel better. But I love what you just said, though. What you just said is maybe you don't have to tell people, like, I'm good at this. Like, those words may be difficult. You could actually say, I really enjoy doing this, and say that with joy emanating from you. And that's as good as saying, hey, I'm pretty darn good at this.
Yeah. And I think when you find those situations, right, and you tell people I enjoy this and I'm good at it, right, I think it always helps others find good matches for you, right, whether it's in life or especially in work, right? If you tell people I'm really good at this and I really enjoy it, boy, it makes it really easy for someone to find the next opportunity for you, because they know you're passionate about that and you're good at it, right? Versus, sometimes you can say, well, I'm a salesperson, right? Okay, well, what are you really good at, right? Well, I'm good at prospecting, or I'm good at following up. But like, when you're really specific about what you want to do and what you're good at, it's really easy when someone says, hey, I'm looking for somebody like this. And they're like, I know the perfect person, right? They're good at it. They love doing it. It's going to be a great fit.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, thank you so much for being on this show. I love talking with you. And the last question that I always ask every guest is, this podcast is all about helping CEOs have more joy and success in their journey. So what advice could you leave with our audience to give them more joy and success in their journey?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks again for having me. I do appreciate it. My best advice is stay connected, right? Make phone calls, send people texts, not just to touch base, right? But really stay connected and stay involved, because whether you're in business or you're out of it or you're retired or you're transitioning, those relationships you keep along the way, via the phone, in person, text messages, whatever it is, right? LinkedIn, anything you want, but that connection will stay with you for a long time, right? So even as I was transitioning from my previous company to my new role today, I kept those relationships and they become fruitful, even though I hadn't intended them to, right? They were more just meant to be social connections and stay connected with people that I had grown with over the years. But it's really impactful, right? And I see a lot of that happen as people retire and they lose purpose and don't know what to do. And if you keep staying with your connections along the way, you'll transition into whatever phase of life, and those opportunities will still exist, or your relationships will still exist. And so that's my best advice for having joy and having success along the way.
Dan, thank you so much. Melissa, back to you.
Dan, now I'm going to have to call a couple old friends / colleagues after this podcast. Thanks for reminding me. That's so important. And you do need to keep in touch.
Yeah. You don't have to do that, Melissa. You don't have to do that if you want joy.
I know. I love these people I'm thinking of in my head. So it's like, I am making some of those calls. It's, you know what? It's weird. It's, you get to living every day and you forget to just take those 5 minutes and make that quick call and see who they were so important in my life.
I had the exact same thought as you, Melissa. When Dan shared that, I have a couple of names that popped in my head.
Yeah.
People that I'm going to reach out to this week.
Yeah,
doesn't take long, right? So
it doesn't. And I think, unfortunately, it's like, I think I need to talk to them for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Like, ooh, that's a long time. I don't have time to do that right now. But you know what? Do it 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there, and keep in touch. So thanks, Dan, for sharing so many great nuggets. And until next time, you guys, go out there, enjoy this beautiful journey we're on.